You know it's this. Take a perk and a talk of that shit. Money swallowing like sis. Did it perfect in the kid. Got a billion who sang on my head. Look up the better. Put on the road I just spent. I know we got $1 million. The devil that shit ain't not cheaper again.
Hello and welcome back, fellow anime lovers, to MangaMuse. I am delighted to have you join us once again in the world of fanfiction and fantasy. This is the third part of What If Naruto Meets Rick and Morty. Special note, this fanfic is written and a masterpiece of pyrohelixdrago on FANFICTIONnet. Do check and support the author too. Now smash the like, share and subscribe button for more. Also press the bell icon so that you never miss such great parts. Thanks for the introduction. Now let's dive into the world. Later in Rick's garage. I swear I should be getting paid for this. Rick said doing a space LTRSND on Supernova as Naruto had asked him to be their doctor, like there was anyone else. He thought as Supernova was a being made of space and most people were idiots. Naruto was still ecstatic at the prospect of being a father. You're good. Rick said with a smile as he took a swig from his flask. Supernova flew out in excitement, having her hand on her WMB. Spill, Rick, what did you see? Naruto said in a deadly serious tone. He was letting out bloodlust as Rick never smiled unless violence ensued. I'm okay, out of my element here, but kid, your kid is dying. Rick said, seeing the look on Naruto's face, and saw his world shattered like the most fragile glass hitting the floor. Rick, anything everything, tell me how I can save my child. Naruto said in desperation. Kid, I can't. Rick said sadly, as he was a monster, not a heartless demon. It's your kid's chakra, it's too much for them to handle as they develop. I don't know how to stop it or control it, I'm sorry, he said, handing Naruto his flask as he was sure his friend needed it more than him. My baby's chakra is hurting itself. Naruto thought, a few tears coming to his eyes seeing the price his power was having. Do you have any ideas on how I can save my baby? He asked, wondering if Rick had a slightest idea. I don't know, man, you'd need some kinda chakra doctor to mess with Supernova, or someone with advanced biology similar to your own who could manipulate the chakra to a much more stable level. Rick said as he was throwing shots out there. Granny Tsunade, or worse, Kaguya. Naruto thought as Tsunade fit the whole bill and Kaguya was also a possibility. How much time does the baby have? He asked him. Naruto, bud, you're killing me. Rick said in a literal sense, as he hated doing this as it was like taking swings at a puppy. A week, give or take a few days, he said to him as he was guessing. Rick, can I be sent back to my world? Naruto asked him curiously. Rick spat out the booze in his mouth and coughed. Why, your world is probably Ganizo, my man, he said, knowing a certain psychotic rabbit beach probably killed everyone. I have to try something, Rick, please. I'm begging you on my knees, I need to save my child. Naruto said desperately. Rick was a lot of things, but he wasn't this bad a friend, so he nodded. Next day. Okay, listen carefully, find Tsunade and get back here. Alright, I only have enough energy in this portal for you and one more person. Rick said as he returned to the spot where he found Naruto hopping. There was residual energy to breach the infinite cradle. Naruto felt bad as he wondered what became of his world and wondered if he should have tried harder to go help it. Listen, man, I couldn't have sent you back when you arrived. I didn't have as much cool SHT as I do now. Honestly, I wouldn't have been able to. Rick said to him, being honest, as he didn't have as much useful stuff as before. Naruto nodded as Rick brought out his portal gun attached to a cannon which made a gold portal which he ran into. I swear I thought this hero SHT was behind me. Rick thought, taking a swig as he was now waiting for Naruto to call him so he can bring him and Tsunade back. With Naruto. SHT. Naruto said as he saw the world, his world, and miles upon miles of corpses poking out of pods from the tree. Naruto's world looked completely devoid of life. Sage mode. Naruto said as that was his last option, and to his relief there were still many chakra signatures left. Guess they lasted as long as they did with the chakra they had, he thought to himself, guessing the strongest shinobi were lasting the longest. 1 hour later. Of all the places, dead center of this F tree. Naruto said as he found Tsunade, and she was a little worse for wear as she looked a bit weak and frail. Maybe if I give her some of my chakra, he thought as he pulled her out, and was thankful she seemed to be waking up. The ground began to shake. That bee is still alive. Naruto thought in annoyance as the rumbling ceased when a monstrous rabbit creature shot up from the ground. Ashura! Kaguya yelled in rage. Naruto looked down at Tsunade and remembered his mission. I stay here and fight. Tsunade dies and so does my child, he thought as he decided to do the one thing he swore he'd never do. He ran. With Rick. The F is this? Rick said in annoyance as he was getting weird readings from the portal and soon saw Naruto come through and saw him yelling at him from outside his car. Close it. Close it. Close it. Naruto yelled at him. Rick would have asked why till he saw a monster rabbit head pop through and try to worm its way through. Oh hell no, he said as he fired a sci-fi missile at the creature's head, forcing it back as he closed the door. 6 hours later. Tsunade Senju woke up on a metal table and felt incredibly sore. She got up and examined herself. The hell, she thought as her body felt better than before and she felt younger. She looked down and saw she still had her large G-cup melons, curvy model body with perfectly fit and thick parts, and her peach was perfectly round and still firm and soft as before. You're 18. Rick said boredly as he was just chilling here as Naruto owed him big. You were malnourished and a bunch of other CRP, so I healed your body. Now you're basically 18 again. Congrats. Oh, and Naruto is next door, he needs your help, he said, burping between every few or so words. At the mention of Naruto, Tsunade left in a haste. 1 hour later. So everything is gone, or most of everything? Tsunade asked as Naruto filled her in on what had happened to their home. And you have a baby on the way, she said, deciding to focus on something happier. Yeah, and I need your help. Naruto said to her, filling her in on what's happening. Tsunade moved faster than Naruto had seen her, and they were by Supernova's side. 20 minutes later. So my baby will be just fine? Naruto asked her as Tsunade did a checkup. Yes, your baby is producing more chakra than it needs to be. I can regulate it every so often so it progresses at a more stable level. Tsunade said as a common thing with babies with strong chakra parents was that their own chakra was too much to handle and the medical ninja had to regulate it or sometimes drain a certain amount to stabilize the baby. Naruto pulled her into a hug as he couldn't thank her enough. Tsunade blushed as she hugged him back, not letting go for a long time. Few hours later. Tsunade was wearing a silk night robe she bought as Naruto had her shop, and she picked up many provocative clothing, but that was besides the point as before Naruto had woke her, she was dreaming of a life with him. In her dream Tsunade was younger and the same age as Naruto. She grew up with him and made her intentions for him clear, pissing off the likes of Ino and Hinata, and thought her former pupil was a bit of a moron for not seeing Naruto's appeal. They eventually married, and constantly having multiple partners, all of which knew that she was Naruto's woman. But it didn't end there, as another scenario was like how it truly was as Naruto her in her office claiming her for years and years until she gave him the Hokage hat and he ordered her around. Another was when they lived in solitude away from all the problems, living completely naked, neither losing interest in the other or the appeal of the other, truly dying. I want those dreams to be real. Tsunade thought as she wanted Naruto to have her forever. She approached his room and saw Naruto sleeping in the NDE. God, I wish I knew he did this, she thought as seeing him sleep naked made her longing burn. I really need to put a lock on that thing, Naruto said, waking the moment the doorknob creaked open. Tsunade wasted no time and dropped her silk gown, revealing her naked body to him, and approached him with longing burning in her eyes. Naruto, she said, getting closer to him, the day I met you, you've always been on my mind, haunting my every dream. I need you, she admitted shamelessly. Tsunade, you just saved my child, you are a friend, and you're someone I respect and admire. Naruto said, pulling her into a kiss, making her in delight. I want you, he whispered into her ear before resuming their kiss. He's even more DMT than in my dreams. Tsunade thought as he felt his hands on her chest. She became frightened when she saw his member get irked, as it was much bigger than her dreams, and I was his doctor. God, he got huge, she thought in slight fear and arousal. Tsunade, I want you. Naruto said to her, making her out, "I want you to be mine like my other girls," he said as he wanted Tsunade very bad at this moment. "My body has always been yours, Naruto, take me however you want whenever you want, I'll do it." Tsunade said, not caring what he did to her, only caring about his pleasure. Naruto took her invitation, pushing her onto the bed and got on top of her, placing his member between her tips. "Not even my bust is enough." Tsunade thought as Naruto's member was still poking out. She shuddered when she felt him move into her cleavage, poking her face with each move. "Time to finally live up to my name," she thought, opening her mouth to greet his tip as she was going to live up to her name as the legendary eater, and blow him forever. She as she felt a seal appear above her peach. Did he place a seal on me? She thought, not sure if she should be aroused or concerned. "Tsunade, I am head of the Uzumaki clan. Our clan, you have a duty to your clan to help restore it, so you're going to be bred repeatedly and I am going to make these tips even fuller," Naruto said, giving them a light pinch, making her on his PP. Tsunade pulled away momentarily. "The seal, what does it do?" she asked as she panted, wanting to know as her Uzumaki nature got the better of her, and the answer to her question came when she felt a massive orgasm when Naruto touched her melons. "I made your entire body incredibly sensitive to the point your whole body is as sensitive as your CLT is," Naruto said, teasingly, flicking her NPL, making her CLMX again. "Everything I do to you will feel so much better," he said teasingly. Tsunade in fear as this was an Uzumaki SEC seal, something she read about. Uzumakis would put these on their lovers, she thought, as the Uzumaki were feared for their numbers as they were a very SXL people, more often than not taking more than one lover, and the seal was made to further SXL pleasure of the Uzumaki's lovers as a way to further pleasure and mark their lovers. "It's never coming off, Tsunade. I modified it so you won't feel it in a fight, but when I or any of my lovers are around it'll be on and you'll be weak to our every touch," Naruto said, seeing her shiver in delight. "Now on your hands and knees, Tsunade," he said as she did as instructed once he got off her. "I'm gonna die with this seal, he owns me now," Tsunade thought with a large smile, loving that prospect. Naruto was behind Tsunade, admiring her lower half, noticing her peach was as equally great to her tips. He gave it a nice slap, smiling as Tsunade had a small CLMX. "I'm looking forward to knocking you up, Tsunade. I want to see your belly swell with our blonde Uzumaki children and your tips swell and leak out milk," he said as he always wanted a family. "Yes. Make me a mommy, Naruto, knock me up alongside Supernova. We'll give BRTH to many healthy babies for you and our tips will get even bigger for you to play with," Tsunade said as, like Naruto, she always wanted her own family to start. Naruto smiled and without warning, he slammed himself into Tsunade's PP, stretching it out, and easily made it to her WMB and entered it. "He's gonna knock me up," Tsunade thought, not thinking he'd so easily reach her WMB like it was nothing. "I'll get knocked up every time I'm not already PRGN," she thought as Naruto was in the perfect position as when he was ready to CLMX, she'd be stuffed immediately. She let out screams of pleasure when he began to move the seal on her, making her extremely sensitive. "I hope this goes without saying, Tsunade, but you belong to me now," Naruto said, whispering into her ear as he kept thrusting into her. "Yes, MSTR." Tsunade loudly as she loved the prospect of being his. "Good, then let's go somewhere special," Naruto said, pulling out of her and walking to the door. Tsunade eagerly following. "Crawl," he ordered, seeing her walk on her hands and knees. Few minutes later, Tsunade was dripping in fear and anticipation as Naruto had her in bindings in mid-air, and they were especially tight around her tips as they became a little red. "He has a sec dungeon," she thought as this place was fully equipped with things to punish her. "I hope you know, Tsunade. I won't tolerate your previous behavior," Naruto said as he gave her peach a harsh slap, making her scream. Tsunade stayed quiet, not wanting to anger him. "You won't be drinking, gambling, or being the lazy cow SLT that you are," Naruto said, slapping her tips. "That reminds me, I will be getting you a cow print bikini and collar with a cow bell for you to wear at times," he adds on, making a mental note to get one for her. Tsunade blushed as she had been called a cow many times as an insult, but hearing it from Naruto made her feel embarrassed and corny. It didn't help he was playing with her tips and squeezing her tips. Then when these fat tips of yours swell up with milk I am going to milk you like a cow, Naruto said as he pinches her tips harshly while giving them a slight tug. Tsunade at that as she wanted Naruto to touch her melons wanting him to milk her. I missed you Tsunade. Naruto said making her breath hitch, you are important to me, I want you to remember that forever, he said wanting Tsunade to know she meant a lot to him. Tsunade at that and then screamed when he thrust it into her PP, her unable to do anything as she was bound and tied suspended in mid-air. Naruto tugged on the rope of Tsunade's melons making it tighter for the woman and began eating on her tips aggressively. He's eating on my tips like a newborn. Tsunade thought and climaxed thinking of their potential child and that made her cornier. Well isn't this nice? Supernova said walking in, Naruto shame on you for not inviting me, she said with a pout and looked at Tsunade, glad you could join Naruto's HRM and I owe you a personal thank you, she said with a bright smile, you saved my baby, she said getting low looking at Naruto's member F Tsunade's PP raw and began to lick them both. Tsunade felt incredibly faint as both of them wouldn't give her a moment to breathe. Naruto won't be the only one having his way with you Tsunade. Supernova said looking at her tips pressing her own against Tsunade's, I wonder which of us will be bigger after they get full, she said cutely. Tsunade couldn't help but blush as she thought of being with the woman who had a chest that was equal to her own. Supernova cut Tsunade's bindings but made her mini planets become bindings on her ankles and wrists keeping her floating. Tsunade as while she was flexible she wasn't as flexible as Supernova brought her to a bed in the dungeon and had her legs be forced behind her head and brought her hands to her ankles making sure she kept them in place. I feel so exposed right now, she thought in embarrassment as she felt even more weak and vulnerable now. Beg Tsunade I want to hear it. Supernova said as this woman was someone she could respect and as an equal at that. Naruto please F me till I can't feel my legs and make me have your kids I want them. Tsunade said as he leaped to her and kissed her and even louder when she felt his chakra on her forehead, is he, messing with my seal, she thought in shock. I thought it'd be appropriate to fix that don't want you dying on me. Naruto said teasingly, and I added a few things, now you can fill it up with chakra my chakra through section, he said as he was going to make her work for that. He has me. Tsunade thought as with the Uzumaki SEC seal and now him messing with her seal on her head made it so Naruto had her trapped even more so than right now, she screamed as she felt her diamond seal activate and unlike all the other times it felt pleasurable, he's activating both seals, she thought as she knew she was now done for. All Tsunade knew was pleasure that night as her Uzumaki heritage was put to the test. None of her holes were spared as Naruto claimed her mouth, PP, and Peach countless times filling her again and again with his thick seed until she had a noticeable bulge in her abdomen due to the sheer amount of his spunk that had been unleashed inside her. Next morning. Tsunade felt exhausted and realized this must have been the Uzumaki were so feared, she went to the bathroom, she thought seeing her body covered in his seed, my dreams were nothing on what he did to me last night, she thought as before anything else could be said Supernova pulled her into the shower. Supernova was happy as she found a lover who could help her with Naruto and unlike the others she was similar to Naruto although weaker she still had her respect and would help her manage the HRM, I hope you realize we're gonna keep you till we're sure you are having children, she said as Tsunade squealed in both excitement and pleasure. It was safe to say that no matter what Tsunade was completely stuffed that day and would be so for the next week. Next day Dimension C-138. Beth and Summer of Dimension C-138 were very corny as they had been entrapped with watching a version of themselves get F throughly and with passionate romance by a spiky-haired blonde with a massive PP. Dimension C-137. Jerry had used Rick's reality goggles to view different versions of himself in different dimensions, all of pain and misery and some that made him black out in terror and only to awaken in denial. In every dimension he saw he was either miserable and died a gruesome death, was successful only to F it up and die a brutal death, or a cuck like his father, and then died a gruesome death. Naruto, Rick, and Morty spent the day watching random stupid interdimensional TV as it was better than the CRP on regular cable. Beth and Summer were sweating bullets as Naruto had F'd them furiously in every room of the house moments before. Few days later. So how you wanna F with this piece of SHT? Rick said as he saw this as an opportunity, as this was as close to God as it could get and he was gonna F with the devil like there was no tomorrow. How bad you wanna mess with him? I don't see much profit given he gives away everything. Well, since that's the case, we could make a rival business and charge people for us to remove the curses from whatever they get from his shop. Rick said with a grin as he loved messing with people. Summer liked her job as she was being paid and she got front row seats to see her lover and grandpa F with him. Oh my God, she said, seeing the devil hang himself. Huh, what? The devil says, his eyes snapping open. Oh Summer, it's you, what's wrong? He asks casually. Mr. Needful, killing yourself isn't the answer, Summer says. Oh that, no, I wasn't trying to kill myself, that's the only way I can fall asleep, he says, removing himself from the noose only to raise an eyebrow as he sees Summer turning away. What's wrong? He asks. You haven't irked, Summer says, looking anywhere but at the tiny tent in her boss's pants. Oh right, sorry about that, a side effect of my sleep habit sadly. Though it has resulted in me getting the souls of many sinners who die as a result of mimicking my habit, Mr. Needful says with a dark chuckle. Okay, dark. Summer thought to herself, not wanting the fun to end, but there were certain lines not even she would cross. 1 week later. Naruto decided to go into the shop himself, seeing what the devil could offer him. Of all people, the man did a lot of kissing up and he played dumb too. Not knowing about the curses. Naruto looked around, not seeing anything that caught his eye, until he spotted a gold ring. This seems old, and has sage chakra, he thought in confusion as the ring seemed unfinished and felt like there was more to it. Ah, that a nice ring, but not much to look at. How about it? The devil said to him, grinning deviously. Sure. Naruto said, taking it then leaving. The devil laughed as he flipped off Rick and then realized something. SHT, did I curse that ring? He said in realization. Next day. Naruto did a little research on the ring and got a few results. Planetina, he thought as he saw she was popular in the 90s with a group of kids, and even Rick could have called this one as the kids grew up to become douchebags. Maybe I should steal them and her, he thought, referring to the rings on each of the now adult children's fingers. 3 hours later. Naruto felt bored as this was no challenge, as he stole the rings very easily, as he stole it from the women after some passion, or at least they thought it was passion, as he simply hypnotized them into thinking he was F them, as they were a couple of ugly Beths. Then the men were easy as they believed in just brute force, and he easily killed them. Naruto proceeded to summon the earthly entity with the 4 rings, wondering what the 5th did. He decided to use the 4 and summon Planetina. Maybe I should use sage chakra in the rings, he thought as they let out sage chakra themselves. When Naruto called out the elements of the rings, Planetina appeared. Although she was more grown than before in her pictures, she seemed to have more of an adult body with model-like curves and amazing hips, while her melons were only D-cups or bubbly round peach made up for it, as it was simply incredibly large and toned. Planetina was shocked by what she was feeling, as Mother Earth never had anything so pure on it before, and when this power touched her she felt incredible and a rush coursing through her. She looked at the man where the power was coming from and stared at him in awe. Supernova's curiosity was a little piqued as she felt something happening in the backyard and saw a girl that seemed much like herself and Naruto, though the girl was more like her as she was made from space and the girl was seemingly made purely from the planet. I wonder if you'll be like that, she thought, pressing a hand on her stomach, imagining their baby. 1 week later. Naruto had to admit he was a little shocked that something so positive held so much rage, as Planetina was getting sick of the constant pollution and thought about murdering countless people to get results. She saw him as a savior and he acted immediately, putting a stop to her by making her rings into a golden choker and adding his power and supernovas. They commanded her easily enough. You really need to calm down, Supernova said to Planetina, as she had been very dramatic. Planetina's rage lessened as she knew what Supernova was, and she was basically nothing compared to her, as the woman was incredibly powerful and they were similar entities. Supernova smiled as she liked Planetina, seeing her as a sister entity, and smiled as she knew and discovered much about her, learning that she was a version who had never been touched and that even before they placed the choker on her she was weak and susceptible to their powers. Later that night, Supernova laid in bed happily as she felt the strong power building up inside her, knowing it was her baby. The baby currently inside Supernova was going to be something given whom its parents were, but there was more to the life growing inside Supernova than most thought. Smith Residence. Why do they get so many pancakes? Jerry whined as Rick and Naruto received the most pancakes at breakfast. "'Cause he needs his energy." Summer thought as she was eating special pancakes like her mom as they were filled with special milk they had to get from Naruto, was so tempted for her to give him some, but that'd mean less for us, she thought as she savored the taste. Naruto has a higher metabolism than us, so he needs more carbs in a day. Beth said, partially lying her peach off, as while Naruto did in fact have a higher metabolism, it wasn't why she was giving him more pancakes. "Okay, then why does your dad get more pancakes?" Jerry asked stupidly. "Not only is he my father, but it's also his 1-year anniversary, Jerry, so PSS off," Beth said to him, getting annoyed with his constant whining. Breakfast and a show. Rick thought, being at ease for a moment, till it went to SHT when he saw a familiar green portal and saw 6 versions of him enter and freeze Jerry, some upsides, he thought, looking at the frozen idiot. "Rick, C. 137, you are under arrest, you're Morty, and the extra are to come along with us to the Citadel of Ricks immediately," one of the Ricks said. "If this is about the dimensional clog in the Council of Rick's private bathroom, that wasn't me," C-137 said with a roll of his eyes. "Yeah, that was me. I tried some food from Dimension 9009 and it wrecked my stomach," Naruto said, raising his hand. "Wait, that was you? Oh god, that was funny. They had to quarantine that whole sector of the Citadel for a week while Rick and the development teams tried to unclog it. Hell, in the end they couldn't figure out how to do so and just jettisoned the private bathroom," one of the Ricks said with a laugh. "Listen, as cool as this guy is, we gotta go," one of the Ricks said as they all left. Beth and Summer did nothing as they just ate their SMN-filled pancakes and left Jerry frozen. Citadel. "Hey Rick, can I ask why Ricks hate each other, but not Naruto?" Morty asked as this was the first time other Ricks were meeting him. "Oh, Naruto possesses a cool element to him that most Ricks are naturally drawn to, cause a lot of us like cool wicked SHT, it's like SEC appeal, but less off-putting and more broship," Rick said as he and the other Ricks laughed as Naruto punched a mascot. "Why are some of the Mies so lame?" Morty asked him, curious as to why a lot of him ate. "Different development, you grew a set and split off from your PP of a father, thank F for that," Rick said as his Morty had some ball unlike the other ones and it made certain jobs easier. "Oh geez, there is even a female version of me. Did she just hand you her panties, Naruto?" Morty asked, seeing a female version of him walk away swaying her hips and giggling, and for a moment he thought he saw her bare peach as her skirt blew up. "Morty, all women hand me their panties," Naruto said to him as he found a lot of them in his locker. "Ugh, I think I am going to puke," Morty said with a green face. "Can't wait till he finds out about his mother and sister." Rick thought to himself as Morty hadn't fully caught on, one of the downsides of his father's genetics, but he was still smart enough on his own. "Are there female Ricks that do that?" Morty asked him. "No, female Ricks aren't welcomed on the Citadel, too much infighting cause not enough PP to go around," Rick said as Rick screwed both himself and female versions so it got kinda difficult. "Wow, that's kinda sexist," Morty said after hearing the reason why. "Not really, the female Ricks have their own secret meetings from the rumor I heard, apparently, they get pretty wild, or so the rumors say," Rick said with a shrug. "Oh, you have no idea," Naruto thought with a scoff as he can't even count the number of times the female Ricks contacted him to try and join one of their secret meetings, though he always turned them down. "Wonder what a female Naruto looks like," Morty said, not seeing the smirk on Naruto's face as now there stood a female version of the blonde in female equivalent clothing. All the Ricks cheered all the way to the council chambers. "DMN dude, why do they all hate you?" Naruto said, now a man again. "They're jealous of my massive PP and I keep flipping them off whenever they ask me to join since I'm the best Rick Mothaf," Rick said as it was true, he was the Rickiest Rick and it was sheerly because no one could kill him unlike all the other Ricks that kept dying. Naruto watched this farce of a trial and scoffed when Rick was judged as guilty. "He's a lot of shitty things, but not this," he thought to himself. "Rick, do your thing," he said with a smile as he stepped forward. "What is that?" One of the council Ricks asked, seeing two blue spheres in Naruto's hands before he smashed them to the ground, and soon green smoke filled the room and it immediately began to smell, like SHT. Thank you, Rick. Naruto thought as he had Rick make some ninja items like his smoke bombs for him, and he got funny with a few of them. 1 hour later. Thanks, Gambling Rick, call me next time so we can have another round. Naruto said as he made it back to his Earth after meeting a certain Rick who loved to gamble, and after winning a few hands he began to like him. Naruto walked into the kitchen and saw Doofus Rick making out with a semi-frozen Jerry. His breath smells like SHT, good luck getting sick Jerry, he thought as he made a phone call to Gazorpazorp and invited the girls to go start a planet-wide org. 6 hours later. Wait, so you two had to deal with some evil version of Rick that was the one behind all the Rick assassinations and was using a pyramid of naked Mortys to hide? Wow, I had a much better day. Naruto says with a chuckle. So, what did you do all day, Naruto? Morty asked, wondering what he did and wanting to take his mind off today's events. And not much, went to Gazorpazorp, which is an all-female planet, and had a planet-wide org with your sister, her friends, your mom, and Supernova, Naruto said before Morty fainted. Did he not know? He asked Rick, who just laughed. Yeah, so how did the Ricks tease dipshit? Rick asked, looking for amusement. Well, Doofus Rick became cool. Naruto said to him. The F, how? Rick asked as Naruto sent him a text, C-137 Jerry F sheep, he read as he looked at Naruto. Had Doofus make a sec tape F with Jerry, he's now the coolest Rick ever, best part is he made Jerry think he's FU. Naruto said as Jerry had repressed SXL desires for Rick apparently. Rick fell to the floor laughing as this was the best punishment ever. 1 week later. Alright, Bess, who's ready to party? Rick said as he and his family and Naruto were preparing the party elements. Yeah. Summer said to him with a smile on her face as this was gonna be fun. Hey, make sure the M-bomb gets lucky, he's still reeling back from his dad killing his side piece. Rick said, whispering to Summer. Summer nodded as while she had her issues with Morty he was still her brother, so she cared about his well-being and nodded. Nancy could use a piece of the action and stress relief, she thought as Morty had been developing more nicely with Naruto around, as a few days ago he got into a fight with Brad and was actually winning till Principal Vgna and Mr. Goldenfold separated them. Few hours later. Yo BP Squanchy, I want you to meet this cool dude I know, Naruto, this is Bird Person and Squanchy. Rick said, grabbing some beers. Pleasant to meet you. Bird Person said politely. Hey, man, how's Squanching? Squanchy said as he shook Naruto's hand. The four talked, exchanging war stories and other inappropriate actions that would make the devil blush. Hey Rick bro, did you squanch and have another kid? Squanchy asked him curiously. I am indeed curious, as you said your only child was a psychotic badass horse surgeon who is following in your footsteps. Bird Person said to him. I wish that was my kid, anyway no he's not, but he's banging my daughter and granddaughter and we hang out and do cool SHT together. Rick said to them. You seem to have imprinted on him, Rick. Bird Person said, getting looks. To love someone on a certain level, imprinting can be romantic or familial love, he said to them. Oh, so the squanch for squanch. Squanchy said to him. I brought beers, Bess. Naruto said, tossing the guys 3 each. With Summer. Summer smiled as she heard the creak of certain bed springs from the kitchen. Make her your be Morty, she thought as Nancy was super clingy and once she got a taste of Morty she'd want more. Now time to go see Jessica and Trisha, she thought as they were gonna do 7 minutes in heaven with Naruto. Few minutes later. You made a Nazi constitutional hybrid? Naruto asked him as he met Aberdolf Linkler. I was drunk. Rick said to him as he hid. When are you not? Summer said to him. Good point, mind taking care of this? Rick asked Naruto as he appealed to just about everyone. Yo Aberdolf, some hermaphrodite is wearing a rainbow-colored swastika. Naruto said, causing the hybrid dictator revolutionary to roar and go on the hunt for the person wearing it. Not bad. Rick said, a little impressed. Thanks. So how did those moves go? Naruto said as Rick made a dance for himself. Rick smiled as he showed him the steps as he made this dance when he got super high. Next day. Rick said, picking himself up, and groaned when he felt someone tap his head and saw Morty with a cup of coffee. You smell like sweat and aggression, he said to him. And you smell like pain and death. Morty said, drinking his own coffee. My dad was raped last night, he said to him. Apparently he met some woman during the whole Titanic reenactment thing he and Mom went to, and she turned out to be crazy and made him do all the things DiCaprio's character did with Winslet's character in the movie, including SEC in a car. Then I guess she wasn't satisfied by his performance or something, so she pulled out a big strap-on and F his ass with it, the boy said with a shrug uncaringly. Low bar. Rick said to him, as that was much even for him. For us, this universe, or for him? Morty asked him, wondering which he meant. Whichever. Rick said, as that seemed like a low bar even for them. Few minutes later. You froze time. Beth said as she looked at Jerry frozen, pretending to look authoritative. Pretty much. Naruto said as he had Rick unfreeze her while he put a bed under a falling old man, stole money from the bank which Morty then replaced with cookies, and then assisted Rick with making an underground basement. Few months later, frozen in time. This is so weird. Beth said, seeing her father play with Naruto's son and daughter as apparently Supernova was carrying twins which were dubbed Apollo and Black Hole. Her father took a real shine to Black Hole as she ate everything in her path. You mean the fact your father keeps feeding my daughter like she's that pink bottomless pit known as Kirby? Naruto said, thinking it was nice Rick liked his kids so much. 1 week later. I have a baby black hole and I'm not afraid to use it, assholes. Rick said with a black hole strapped to his chest. The bug aliens paused and looked at each other before shooting. Black hole looked curious at the shots approaching them and soon opened her mouth and ate them and then burped, shooting a comet. I wonder if comets are like your version of cat hairballs. Rick said to the baby as he patted her belly, making her smile. That'll do, baby, that'll do, but do it again. I think some of these D-bags are still moving, he said with a grin as the baby cheered and kept firing. 10 minutes later. Okay, little guy, time to see what you're packing. Rick said as he had Apollo strapped to his chest. Assholes, I have a nuclear baby and he will burn you all down if you don't give me what I want, he said as he held an eager Apollo whom he trained to fire on command. Apollo shot a solar flare which at the distance he was from them was like being on the surface of the sun. Ha, cooked bug. Rick said as he bent down slightly and picked up a piece of fried insect and took a bit. Ha, not bad, he said as he chewed on it some more, before grabbing many more. Later at the Smith residence. Damn it, Rick, stop using our children like WMDs. Naruto and Supernova roar in rage as he was using their kids to shoot or eat skeets whenever he launched them. Do you not see how cool this is? Rick said, receiving a hit via a small orbiting planet of Supernova to his ball. If you use my children like that again, I'll throw you into an imploding star. You'll know what it'll feel like to be hit with the power of a sun and a black hole at the same time. Supernova said as she left with the children to feed them. So. Naruto said, walking up to a slightly frightened Rick. What can my kids do? He asked curiously, wondering what their potential was. Both can control gravity and have the powers of their namesake. Rick said to him, quickly trying to get the threat off his mind. Naruto had to admit that sounded kinda cool. 1 month later. Blitz and Chits. Rick said excitedly as he was ready to start playing some games as they were beyond intense here. Naruto smiled as he made a deal with the manager to have Rick perform in the commercial. He also got him a pass to play a lot of games, Roy especially, and get him the deal to be the first to be able to play Roy too. 3 hours later. Hey, I want you to know you're a good bro. Rick said, semi-conscious as he was very drunk and exhausted as he was playing Roy. Not a problem, your grandson became wanted by the galactic government. I destroyed all pictures and those insects can't draw for SHT. Naruto said to him. Ah, baby's first wanted poster and oh, major felonies. Rick said with a smile, sounding proud. Naruto just chuckled at that. Few days later. Ah, this bee threw up in my mouth. Naruto said as they had been trying to raid a space station. OSHT. Rick said backing up looking at the goo. Unity, wait don't dash, he was saying till it was too late. Naruto fell over on the floor as did the crew. Naruto was staring at a formless being of light. Am I dead? He asked as this looked familiar. You are like me, the light said in a female voice to him looking excited. Thank God. How are you a hive mind in a single body? She asked looking him up and down. You stretch your mind so far with yourself it looks so fun, she said excitedly. Naruto wondered what she meant. My clones, he thought in realization as that was a way he stretched his mind as his clones have memories that came back to him as he experienced what they did. The two began to talk and it got weird when their minds began meld every so often experiencing what the other lived through. With Rick. SHT, SHT, SHT. Rick said taking out a portable defibrillator from his coat needing to shock Naruto's system in order to eject Unity. The F just happened. Summer said as Morty panicked seeing Naruto on the floor and Rick shocked him. Is Naruto dead? Morty said looking at Naruto's unmoving form. No dipass. Rick said in some denial as he felt a weak pulse. Why the F are these SHT bags unconscious? He said examining Unity's host bodies. Unity, wake the F up, he said thinking she had to be the cause. Wow, you picked a world of savages. Naruto said as Unity laughed as she was showing him the extensions of her on the planet below. Right, I mean seriously this planet was ripe to be absorbed. I mean all they did was kill each other. I mean I stopped global genocide when I got here. Unity said to him explaining how all countries had nukes on each other. Naruto had to admit even he would abandon this planet as Unity showed him how deprived they were, how many DRGs they all used, and how they killed each other for mostly dumbass reasons. Yeah, plus I have another hive mind coming here. Unity said as she explained how she absorbed most if not all other hive minds in the universe. I swear this guy Beta 7, total whiny bee, he wants synthesis. Can you imagine, she said creating a hologram of what he looked like. I swear it's like I'm looking at a guy who tried to rip off Star Trek. Naruto said to himself, word of advice strategy-wise, send your own team and pretend you're going to stuck him and vomit into their mouths and leave one on your planet to possibly torment, he said to her. Oh man, that'd be awesome. Unity said to him as torturing the hive mind that followed her around like a lost puppy dog. We have something similar, we call it a Jerry. Naruto said as Unity looked at his memories and laughed as it was like looking at another Beta 7. Can I be like you? Unity asked as she examined his genetic code. She had a body amongst the planet that she used as her primary and could easily convert it genetically and physically. Naruto was curious about that. Sure, but I am naturally like this. Amongst my species our strengths are gained through hard work, he said as he earned his skills and abilities. No one was given power, even his son Mark was merely unleashed his inner potential. Unity didn't seem to mind. She analyzed Naruto's DNA and made sure not to mimic it perfectly as she was aware of NCST. On the planet the woman president's body struggled as it slowly transformed. There was no real resistance as there was a reason why Unity liked this body as the person this body belonged to was brain dead. It gave her more free reign and resisted less than any other. The MDM president's hair went from a dark violet to a BLD red, her blue skin became a nice healthy tan, her plump peach became nice and firm, and her tips went from DD cups to large EE cups. Want to hang out? Beta 7 will be here in a few hours. Unity said to him. 1 hour later. So you gonna bail on this planet? Summer asked as Naruto showed her what people did here and her grandfather told her it was a literal time bomb and this planet would be deceased of life in a matter of minutes once Unity left them. So let me get this straight, you made a human body and are going to stop being a hive mind? Rick asked as he and Unity were drinking velocities together. Yeah, he seems so in sync. Unity said to him explaining his hive mind to Rick. Rick had to admit the clone sounded cool, but he didn't think it'd be wise to replicate it. He knew himself well enough that his own clones would try to kill him to take his place or try to prove themselves the superior Rick or they'd do F all since they were his equal level of lazy. Hey, you're not weirded out I'm into Naruto, are you? Unity asked as she never could comprehend Rick, and while she respected him, she was afraid of absorbing him. Please. Rick said as he rarely gave a rat's ass. He loved Unity as a quick getaway. It was like hanging out with Bird Person and Squanchy, but he could have a CC with her, and they usually had a bunch of privacy, and Unity often humored his insane requests. Naruto is totally chill. If you had to settle for someone, I'm glad it's someone awesome, he said as with Unity around more he could do way more drgs, so one body. Huh? He asked as that seemed kinda downscale for her. With chakra in this body, and since I'll have full control, I may retain some hive mind abilities afterwards. Unity said as she had yet to let go of her thralls on the planet, and once she did she would have just her new body. Few hours later. SHT and I thought those insect PP died fast. Rick said as they were all in his flying car looking at the planet kill itself as Unity separated from everyone minus her new host body having fully merged with it. Summer winced seeing everyone on the planet kill each other for pointless reasons. Hey Rick, we stole from the place, right? Morty asked as Naruto and Rick seemed impressed. Naruto? Rick asked curiously as he helped him load a lot of SHT. Stole from all the bars, rare earths, DRGS, and a bunch of the other SHT on your list. Naruto said to him as he had it all sealed in a scroll. Let's bail Bess. Unity said as she wanted to see what Rick's home planet was like. Next day. Seriously, Rick? Unity asked as she watched Rick experimenting with Naruto's children, seeing him test them in various ways. You have to admit this is cool. Rick said as Apollo was making solar fire now. Unity rolled her eyes as she soon saw her hair rising and looked to see Black Hole was now manipulating gravity. Oh, my baby girl is manipulating gravity. Supernova said, sensing the shift in the gravitational force. Black Hole floated like her mother in the air, laughing in joy. How's my princess? Naruto said, seeing his daughter float to him, landing in his arms. Learn anything new, little man? He asked Apollo, seeing him do a chakra dash similar to Naruto in chakra mode and hit him. Awesome, he said to Apollo, patting his head. Next day. Who the F is this? Naruto asked curiously, seeing a man that looked like Jerry. Guys, come on, this guy is my brother Steve. Jerry said to them, and we're going to Paris, he said excitedly. Naruto went into sage mode and was a bit surprised as this person seemed exactly like what he appeared to be. Rick soon appeared and threw glowing rocks into the trash, getting some complaints from Jerry, and then saw Steve. Who the F are you? He asked, getting the same response Naruto got before he shot Steve, turning into a giant slug that bled out. Few minutes later. So you can't tell them apart? Rick asked Naruto curiously as his senses were king. Guess they are technically what they transform into, he said as they felt as real as the object or person they were impersonating. We're not gonna test people who can already shapeshift, are we, Rick? An ebony-skinned beauty said, leaning against the wall. Hey Yoruchi. Naruto said, pulling her into a kiss. What are you doing here? He asked curiously. Your kitten wanted some attention. Yoruchi said as she purred, seeing him. Remember when we trained the other day with the others? She asked him with a grin. SHT Narit dash. Rick was saying before it was too late. Memory. Naruto spared with Yoruchi in hand to hand, both sweating up a storm. You still fight like SHT? Yoruchi said with a smile as they exchanged glances with each other. You gonna train with Tsukiyomi next? You still have elemental training? She asked curiously. Of course, he will CNCBN, as his wife I shall take care of his training. Tsukiyomi said, spraying water at her face. Be pleased if you're his wife. What does that make us? We all have rings to be, a platinum blonde girl said with a cocky grin. Hey Mira Jane. Naruto said as the girls began to argue. Memory end. SHT. Rick said as people kept appearing. With Morty. Hey B, a blonde girl said to Morty sitting next to him. Kinda scary not knowing who is and isn't real, huh? She said jokingly. Hi, Jessie. Morty said to her. Still thinking about Annie, huh? Jessie asked, seeing the wallpaper on his phone. You gotta move on, pal, maybe with another equally CC blonde, she said to him. How can you talk about your sister like nothing happened? Morty asked curiously, wondering what her deal was. The same way you live with her killer, Morty. Jessie said to him, you know I'm real cause of my sister, well she's still dead and not here, but look at Jerry, the F-punkby jackass, she said, seeing Jerry move away with Sleepy Gary. This is your chance, Morty, plus look, Sleepy Gary is to wacky kill them both and we can be together and Annie's killer will finally have died, she said, seeing the temptation in Morty's eyes. Morty wanted him dead and this was the perfect opportunity. With Naruto. Naruto was focusing on his sage mode, intently wondering how these things were getting past him as he found a loophole. The inanimate objects showed no sign of being living and he only sensed them emanating positive emotions. It was surreal to him, but that was the problem, and those positive emotions hidden beneath was fear. With Morty. UF parasite piece of SHT. Morty said, shoving his gun down Jessie's throat, playing with my DMN memories of Annie FU. He said, angrily pulling the trigger, seeing Jessie die and turn into a parasite. He felt numb the moment he killed Jessie as she had Annie's face. It was like she died all over again. With Rick. Back the F up CNTS. Rick said, pointing his blaster wherever he saw movement, are any of you F real? What about you PP? He said, aiming his gun at Naruto, you are some SHT that shouldn't exist. You can do SHT, I can't, he said, looking at him in a very shifty manner. Rick, you're my friend. Naruto said a bit angrily before calming down, if you think I am not real, take the DMN shot dash, he was saying, feeling an incredible sting go through his lung. Oh SHT. Rick said as he looked at Naruto in shock, now knowing his memories with him were real. Oh F me, Naruto, I'm sorry, he said to him, clutching the wound. Assholes. Morty said, screaming at the top of his lungs, give me bad memories of each of you or you're gonna get shot, he said angrily. Kinda late on that one, kid. Naruto said to him, still bleeding. Morty looked at his family and shot the butler, Sleepy Gary, and the reverse giraffe. Geez, this kid might actually be more Rick than I thought. Rick said, taking out his flask and pouring some on Naruto's puncture wound. Again, I'm really sorry, I only had good memories of you, he said to him. Yeah, listen Rick, you helped deliver my kids into the world, alright, you get a pass on this F-up situation. Naruto said to him, simply letting him know they were good, as Rick would always have his loyalty even though he shot him. Yo Franken jackass. Rick said, shooting the monster and then the raptor. Morty, good catch on finding their weakness, he said as he never picked up on it. 1 hour later. I swear, how did this happen? Naruto asked Rick as he healed from the bullet, as Rick's tech was a bit trickier to heal from. No idea, but I'd bet summer. Rick said, as any of these things could have come from anywhere he'd been to. I swear my daughter has a lot of Rick in her, he said, as a little while after he shot Naruto and after everyone that was a parasite was murdered, she shot Mr. Poppy B whole. So how long am I? Naruto asked, motioning to his lung. How is this still here anyway? He asked, finding that more interesting. Oh, my gun uses antimatter, as everything in the universe consists of regular matter, so when it shoots something it hurts a lot more. Rick said to him. So that's why my wound isn't healing as fast. Naruto said, as he had never been hit with something of that nature. So you're going to get plenty of bed rest, Mr. Tsunade said, coming in. Needed a chakra expert. Rick said, as he was still learning about chakra on his own, and as much as he hated it, it was taking him a long time to figure out on his own. Naruto rolled his eyes and went with Tsunade. Few minutes later. Your lung is fully healed, but your bullet hole still needs time to heal. Tsunade said to him as they were in his room. Well, I'm gonna be pretty bored. Naruto said, sending her a certain look. How's Mito? He asked her with a smile. Tsunade blushed, as when they were frozen in time and Supernova had given BRTH to Apollo and Black Hole, she had gotten PRGNT and given BRTH to a baby girl with blonde hair, whom they named after her grandmother. Her bust size went for G-cup melons to GG-cup melons, and her tips were full of milk, just how Naruto wanted them. She's perfect MSTR. She said, as Naruto knew that already, as their baby, while not spatial, was just as powerful as her siblings, as she displayed her traits in her inhuman strength she got from them. Naruto motioned for her to come over to him and she did, they kissed. He massaged her chest, squeezing her melons and milking her tips, making her leak milk. So how is my little SECSLV, he said, liking her NPL. Perfect MSTR. Tsunade said, truly meaning that as each day was paradise with him. Let me please you, it is my duty as your doctor and your wear to make sure you heal and are relaxed, she said as she undid his pants. Seeing his member was fully irked, she began to blow him. She still remembered his promise about how he would breed her. It made her wet every day thinking about how she'd give Mito more siblings. There was a knock at his door and soon Beth came in blushing as she saw Tsunade blowing Naruto without a care in the world that Beth was here. Still upset about Mr. Poopy Beehole? Naruto asked her as he was getting blown. Beth nodded. I need to ask you something, she said, getting his attention. I know I am no godly goga like you and your other girls, and I know you've been holding back on me, but I want you to F the SHT out of me. I want you to punish me brutally because I deserve it, she said to him. This will be fun. Tsunade thought as aside from Summer, Jessica, and Tricia, Naruto's HRM was indeed filled with superhuman beings that were able to meet him on his level. Beth was asking Naruto to essentially break her. You do realize nothing will ever be the same for you afterwards, right? Naruto asked her, getting a nod. He patted Tsunade's head, feeling her release his PP, STRP, he said, seeing her basically tear off her clothing. Beth crawled to him, seeing Tsunade smile at her, and soon felt her hot breath in her ear. He's gonna break you. Tsunade said as Beth's body and mind would get totally wrecked. Beth was silenced as Naruto grabbed the back of her head, making her take him all the way to his base. Tsunade watched in amusement as she liked Beth. She was a good medic and took no SHT, and was curious about her potential as she was Rick's daughter. Beth choked on Naruto's PP, never having felt such aggression from her lover. Tsunade saw Naruto give her a look and she approached him as he captured her lips. You should make her your maid MSTR, she said as Supernova no longer did that given she was a mother now. Tempting, maybe I should make you my maid as well as my SECSLV, everyone seeing these massive tips on display and this delicious peach. Naruto said, seeing her breathe in lust. Do whatever you like to me MSTR, you can F me however you wish. Tsunade said as she was wet thinking of what Naruto would do to her. I'll get to you when I am done. Naruto said, releasing Beth from his PP. Beth looked at Naruto in fear, seeing his PP just screaming aggression and longing to destroy her oles. She screamed as Naruto got her in a full Nelson and slammed his PP into her peach. Tsunade, take Beth's phone and take a picture of this and send it to Summer and tell her I won't be gentle anymore. Naruto said to her, seeing her obey. Have anything to say to your salty daughter? He asked Beth as she was panting. Tell her mommy will be disappointed if she doesn't, please, and obey Naruto. Beth said loudly as she panted and Tsunade did as told, sending the message and picture to Summer. With Summer. Summer saw the text and immediately called Tricia, demanding she come over. With Beth. OSHT, Beth thought, seeing stars as Naruto was certainly hitting her deepest parts, having already broken into her WMB and hitting the very back of it. Tsunade's tips were hard like diamonds. Seeing Naruto break Beth, maybe I should make her my apprentice, she thought to herself as she needed time to kill and perhaps Beth would improve. Maybe I can ask Rick to give her a chakra network, she thought, wondering if it was possible to give someone chakra. Beth felt Naruto leaking inside her and she screamed out as she felt him fill her and felt her WMB expand as his PP wasn't allowing any to escape as he kept leaking. Tsunade as she saw Beth lose consciousness. Seeing her twitch in pleasure, she watched as Naruto laid her on the side and pulled her to him, getting back to where they left off. Few hours later. Unity smiled seeing the broken pleasured forms of Tsunade and Beth. She went over and gave each of them a kiss, seeing their eyes flash yellow for an instant as Naruto had explained to her about certain techniques she could do with how she was a hive mind. She could still connect with people but in a whole new way. Instead of them becoming part of her, she would be part of them. Naruto compared it to the Yamanaka mind transfer technique, as whenever a host left their body and entered a new one, their true body would feel what they felt when they inhabited the other body. Unity then went to Naruto, wanting to put her body through the ringer, and as soon as they started, Tsunade and Beth felt everything Unity felt, being further driven into the depths of pleasure than they ever thought was possible. Few days later. Anyone think it's kinda cool we know a celebrity that's also an element? Naruto asked his friends curiously. I think it's cool you can do Japanese punk rock, my man. Rick said as Naruto was their opening act, singing about fighting for dreams or whatever, as he was their opening act. Hey, Morty, you're trending. Naruto said to him, seeing he looked kinda tired and exhausted. The F happened to you? He asked curiously. Took Rick's portal gun, had no idea how to use it. Morty said to him. Naruto examined the portal gun. You know you had this set on teleporter, right? He asked him curiously. It has modes. Morty asked him. Yeah man, there's portal travel, then there's dimensional travel. Be glad you ended up in your Earth, pal, you would very much be dead otherwise. Naruto said to him as nobody should mess with Rick's stuff unless he explained the madness to them. You should put a genetic lock on this, he said to Rick. Rick had to give him that as he made a point. Next day, Naruto watched as Morty became popular, especially with his vocal abilities and being Rick's main man in a rap. Morty was walking to class when he bumped into a brunette. She wore glasses, a blue t-shirt with a circle on it, and a magenta skirt. Oh sorry, he said, helping her up and picking her stuff up. Thanks, I'm Adelia. Adelia said to him, blushing, thinking he was cute. Adelia is the vat of acid girl Morty dated. Her name means noble acid. Morty said till Brad shoved him aside. And hello middle class new girl. Brad said to Adelia, and just as he was about to say something else, Morty punched him in the face. That was cool. Adelia said to him, thanks, I really don't like jocks with ego problems, she said to him, seeing Morty chuckle. Naruto sensed this girl was normal, but Morty was quick to like her. Few hours later. Okay, what the F did you do? Naruto asked Rick curiously. What I do? Rick asked, as that could literally be anything. Rick, that a girl is named Noble Acid and I see you doing the vat of acid thing, it's insane. Hell, it might be smarter to make yourself acid proof rather than go to all the effort of waiting there and shooting ladels. Naruto said to him as he spent 4 hours with Rick in the last vat. You know Ricks have a protocol for Mortys that talk smack. Rick said to him. Don't do vats and I'll take you to Blitz and Chits instead of that CRP and buy you around at Shoney's. Naruto said to him flatly, as having fun was better than being stuck in whatever vat he'd make. Done. Rick said to him, thinking that was well worth it. Rick, the girl? Naruto asked him, wondering who or possibly what she was. Oh, there's a Rick who tests Morty to make him appreciate the vat, and I sometimes watch for comedy, and this girl is someone Morty likes a lot. Thought it was time he moved on from Annie, so I tracked down her dimensional counterpart, and did some screwing around. Rick said to her. You made her fall in love with Morty? Naruto asked, as that was how the crazy mantis everyone in love with Morty happened. Not too much effort, just made it so she transferred to Morty's school, and that Brad, being the F-up that he is, would hit on her and pick a fight. Rick said as he did the math, and teenage hormones were more predictable than people thought. Naruto admitted that was better, as Morty didn't take too kindly to being manipulated, and it was a bit of a PP move if Rick treated Morty like everyone else he screwed over. So alright folks, that's all for today. Stay tuned for more crossovers. Do subscribe, like and share for more such videos. Also check out the story and author pyrohelixdrago on FANFICTIONnet. Press the bell icon to be notified first on release. See you in the next video. Till then, goodbye.